I gave up my dreams for the sake of my girlfriend's future. Not only did I work 3 jobs a day, but I also served her like an imperial concubine, attending to her every need, from bathing to dining. However, what I never expected was that while we were entwined in passion, she called out the name Makoto. Furious beyond words, I died on the spot. Yet, fate granted me a second chance. I was reborn. In this life, as I watched her embrace another man right before my eyes, I felt nothing but indifference, because this time, I had already secured the favor of Anna, the wealthiest woman on the Forbes list. Chapter 1. At the graduation ball, I stood in the corner, expressionless, watching my girlfriend, Willow, embrace another man. The man wore a triumphant smile, while the way Willow looked at him carried a deep affection I had never seen before. Half an hour ago, Willow and I were on our way to finalize our divorce, arguing nonstop. She resented herself for marrying too early, believing she had sacrificed a golden opportunity to study abroad for so-called love. Now, she was stuck in a small studio, working as an unnoticed jewelry designer. I felt just as suffocated. Over the years, every time we were intimate after a few drinks, she would call out Makoto's name. She had also secretly taken birth control for 5 years. This marriage, I had had enough. Suddenly, a sharp screech of brakes rang out. The car lost control in an instant. A deafening crash followed, and my world plunged into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the graduation ball. At that moment, Willow was nestled in Makoto's arms, and I immediately understood. The Makoto she had been yearning for all along was none other than this campus heartthrob from the art department. Just like in my past life, the champagne tower on the stage suddenly collapsed. Crystal clear glasses and golden champagne scattered across the floor, causing panic as screams echoed through the hall. In my previous life, Willow had rushed over without hesitation, crying as she pushed me aside, only to get her own arm cut by shards of glass, leaving a scar. But this time, I was far from the champagne tower, and Willow was tightly clutching Makoto's arm. Standing still, the two of them exchanged a glance across the chaotic crowd. Without hesitation, Willow turned around and left with Makoto. From that moment, I thought our lives would completely diverge, never to cross paths again. Time flew by. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. Who would have thought that at a charity gala 5 years later, fresh from a rural charity event and dressed in simple casual wear, I would step into the grand banquet hall and immediately be captivated by a familiar figure. Willow, dressed in a luxurious gown, shone like the brightest star in the night sky, graceful and stunning. She stood elegantly by an exquisite display, next to a confident and charismatic Makoto. Willow was passionately introducing the jewelry in the showcase to the guests. Each piece sparkled with brilliance and uniqueness, clearly the work of a master designer. Someone marveled, Willow truly deserves her reputation as an internationally renowned designer. In just 5 years after studying abroad, she has conquered the global jewelry market. She is the pride of S City. The guests showered her with praise, their eyes filled with admiration. Another guest chimed in. The world's top billionaires and aristocrats take pride in owning one of her designs. Didn't one of her recent creations sell for $100 million at auction? It stunned the entire jewelry industry. Another added, Willow, I studied art too. We graduated from the same university. You have to mentor me. Give me some guidance. Willow basked in the compliments, clearly enjoying the attention. At that moment, a stylishly dressed young lady curiously asked, Willow, are we going to be celebrating your wedding with Makoto soon? The mention of Makoto's name made Willow's gaze soften with deep affection. She nodded slightly and tightened her grip on Makoto's hand. We're getting engaged next week. I'm finally going to be his fiancé. A wave of cheers and applause erupted around them. Just then, an old acquaintance seemed to recall something and asked, Willow, do you still keep in touch with George? I remember that back in your freshman year, you were in a different department. It was George who encouraged you to switch majors. Wasn't your first jewelry design inspired by him? The moment my name was mentioned, Willow's face froze, her radiant smile stiffening as a hint of gloom flickered in her eyes. Makoto, however, maintained his smile, but his tone carried an undeniable coldness. He said, Willow and I are getting married soon. Childhood romances never last. She was just playing around with him. The topic was quickly shifted as everyone continued to praise Makoto and Willow as a match made in heaven. Standing quietly at a distance, I watched Willow silently accept everything. My thoughts drifted back to our university's opening ceremony in my previous life. Back then, we had fallen in love at first sight, diving headfirst into romance. I still remembered how Willow, glowing with happiness as she designed her first piece of jewelry, had told me, they say a lover's eyes are the 8th ocean of the world. George, this piece was inspired by you. My heart and eyes are filled with your name. I love you, only you. Her love had been so fervent, yet now, it was nothing more than a joke. I walked further into the banquet hall, calm and composed, when suddenly, a shrill voice cut through the air. George, is that really you? No way. You actually came dressed like that. Are you seriously this down and out now? Chapter 2. The moment someone called out my name, George, every pair of eyes in the room turned toward me. Another voice chimed in. This is a high-class charity gala. And you showed up dressed like that. Do you even take this event seriously, George? At least try to look presentable. Someone else snickered. George, we're all old friends here. Why don't you go and ask Willow to get you a decent job? A grown man. Ending up like this, how embarrassing. Murmurs and ridicule spread through the crowd as people whispered among themselves, throwing mocking glances in my direction. On the stage, Willow's expression flickered with something unreadable. When our eyes met, her brow furrowed slightly, almost imperceptibly. She spoke, her tone laced with disappointment. George, all these years have passed, and you haven't changed at all. It's truly disappointing. Makoto, his arm wrapped around Willow's waist, burst into arrogant laughter, deliberately raising his voice. Willow, not everyone can be as young and successful as your boyfriend. Don't be too hard on George, he was your first love, after all. Then he turned to me, grinning maliciously. But George, did you leave the house in a hurry and grab the wrong outfit? You look like a janitor. Lucky for you, I happen to have an extra suit. I'll give it to you as a gift. Laughter erupted from the crowd. I glanced at Makoto. His designer suit, luxury tie, and the expensive watch on his wrist were all meant to flaunt his status. Then I looked at myself. I had just rushed back from a rural school after traveling for more than 20 hours without even catching my breath. My face was exhausted, and my plain casual wear, now wrinkled and out of place, contrasted starkly against the extravagant setting of the banquet hall. Makoto was basking in his own superiority, just about to signal someone to fetch the suit when I suddenly spoke. No need. I don't need it, nor am I used to wearing things like that. With that, I turned and walked toward the lounge area behind me. The whispers turned into outright insults, mocking me for being broke yet still pretending to have dignity. Makoto pressed a kiss against Willow's cheek, then smirked. Why don't you go talk to him? Even beggars don't turn down free food. He's already a janitor, what's he holding on to pride for? A flicker of emotion crossed Willow's eyes, but she quickly dismissed it with a scoff. Why should I bother? An ex should be as good as dead. He just showed up here out of nowhere. I wouldn't be surprised if he's trying to beg me to take him back. Makoto laughed carelessly. Come on. It was just a 3-year fling. How deep could the feelings be? Willow didn't answer. She wouldn't tell Makoto that in our past life, we didn't just date, we got married. We spent 10 years together. I was eating in the lounge area when Willow appeared again. She sat down across from me, her expression complicated. With a swift motion, she took out a bank card and slapped it onto the table in front of me. I know you used to be good to me, but George, we're over. How can you let losing me turn you into this mess? This money is compensation. Take it, buy yourself something decent, and take care of yourself. Looking at the young Willow before me, memories of our past life came flooding back. We had gone from campus sweethearts to a married couple, envied by many. Willow had always dreamed of becoming a renowned jewelry designer, while I had aspired to be an educator, dedicating my life to improving education in rural areas. Both dreams demanded immense time, effort, and money. In the face of reality, one of us had to make a sacrifice. I loved Willow too much to let her struggle, so I gave up my teaching career, abandoned my own dreams, and worked tirelessly at multiple jobs to support hers. There was a time when she wanted to buy a set of designer tools that cost tens of thousands. Though I earned a decent salary, over $20,000 a month, almost all of it went toward supporting her. I asked her to wait for just half a month before making the purchase, but she snapped. She tore up her design drafts in fury and screamed at me hysterically. I should have listened to Makoto and gone abroad with him. If I had left with him back then, I wouldn't be living like this. You can't even afford something as small as this, George. You're crushing my dreams. I regret marrying you so much. You're nothing but a failure. And now, in the present moment, I simply pushed the bank card back across the table, my face devoid of emotion. Sorry, Miss Liu, I said coldly. I've never been one to accept money from strangers. Chapter 3. Stranger. Willow's brows furrowed instantly. She clenched the bank card tightly, as if grasping onto her trampled dignity. She glared at me and demanded, George, what do you mean by that? I remained calm. After all, my heart had already died long before that car accident. Back then, we had been in a cold war over the expensive design tools she wanted. I was the first to compromise, humbling myself like a desperate puppy. I had gently wrapped my arms around her waist from behind and whispered, Willow, I know you've suffered by being with me. It's all my fault. I promise I'll work even harder to make more money. Okay, trust me. One day, when I earn enough, we'll buy a house and have a child of our own. But the next second, Willow had shoved me away as if I disgusted her. Her voice was sharp, filled with fury and disdain. A child? George, you've already ruined my life, and now you want to ruin a child's too. I don't want kids, and even if I did, I wouldn't want them with you. That was the moment the last shred of warmth in my heart was extinguished. They say love, in the end, depends on one's conscience. I had given my all without regret, so when the accident happened, I hadn't felt fear, only relief. Finally, I wouldn't have to endure the heartbreak of this shattered marriage anymore. George, answer me. What do you mean? Willow's voice rose in anger, her frustration barely contained. My tone remained even as I replied, I can afford my own clothes. I don't need to change my job. I like it just fine. It's not shameful, and I'm not wallowing in self-pity. I'm content with my life, so keep your money. Give it to someone else. Willow's lips pressed tightly together. She stood there, glaring at me, unwilling to back down. At that moment, Makoto approached, holding a glass of wine. He glanced at the bank card in Willow's hand, his eyes darkening briefly, but his expression quickly shifted into a gentle smile. Taking Willow's hand, he turned to me and spoke with feigned kindness. George, you don't want our goodwill. Then let me offer you something more practical. I recently opened a photography studio downtown. Why don't you work there as an assistant? I'll pay you $5,000 a month. It's more than what you're making now, isn't it? You'll even learn something useful for the future. This way, you won't be stuck doing nothing, and Willow won't have to worry about you. How about it? Give it a try. No need to be shy. It's a gesture from both Willow and me. Makoto's words sounded like an offer, but every syllable was laced with condescension. I was a man. I could see the disdain and hostility in his eyes all too clearly. Calmly, I set down my plate, wiped my mouth, and declined once more. Thanks, but I'm happy with my job. I have no intention of changing it. From a distance, some old acquaintances jeered, raising their voices. George, you're so ungrateful. They're offering you money and a job. Just take it. Yeah, look at you, struggling, and you still want to act all high and mighty. You came here tonight hoping to climb the social ladder, didn't you? Stop pretending. Or maybe you're aiming for something bigger. Damn, are you trying to become a gold digger now? Makoto chuckled and interrupted. Don't be so harsh, guys. Maybe George really loves his job. Being a janitor is respectable too, isn't it? Then he turned back to me, his voice laced with false concern. Think it over. George, you're not young anymore, and you have no savings. How will you survive in S-City? Don't let your pride cost you this opportunity. This isn't charity, it's our kindness. I couldn't help but laugh. In my eyes, this whole charade, forcing money and jobs on me, was as childish as a playground game. I had chosen not to explain myself because I had grown used to keeping a low profile. But if we were to talk about wealth, every person in this room combined wouldn't even come close to me. I firmly rejected once more. I really don't need it. Stop insisting. Willow finally lost her patience. She scoffed, her voice dripping with scorn. George, you're hopeless. You'll never amount to anything. Just stay poor and die for all I care. Just then, a drunk woman pushed through the crowd. She was plump, her face flushed red from alcohol. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up like a starving wolf spotting prey. She grinned and slurred. Poor. If you're poor, then come to me. Have a drink, and I'll give you 10 grand. What do you say, handsome? Want to play? Chapter 4. The woman, reeking of alcohol, staggered toward me and plopped down heavily onto the seat beside me. She shoved her glass in my face, her eyes practically glued to me as she scrutinized me up and down. Drink more. Earn more. George, aren't I generous? She slurred. Laughter erupted from the crowd, nearly shaking the roof with its intensity. Someone jeered. Ha, looks like George just scored himself a sugar mommy. Hey. Nothing wrong with living off a rich woman, just don't act all high and mighty about it. That's the third daughter of the Bai Corporation. She's rolling in money. Congrats. George, you're about to become a rich man's son-in-law. Another voice chimed in. Go easy on him, Miss Bai. George's skinny arms and legs might not survive your enthusiasm. The mocking laughter echoed in my ears. Everyone was treating me like the night's entertainment, turning this charity gala into a circus. I frowned, regretting attending this so-called philanthropic auction. I had never expected it to be such a disgraceful spectacle. If it weren't for the fact that I was waiting for someone important, I would have left already. The woman suddenly latched onto my arm like an octopus. I gritted my teeth, unwilling to physically push her away, but in that brief hesitation, she grabbed a bottle of wine and tried to pour it down my throat. Consider yourself lucky. George, don't play hard to get. I'll give you 100 grand, just be obedient. The alcohol rushed into my nose, burning its way down as I coughed violently. Instinctively, I threw a punch, but I underestimated her sheer weight. I barely budged her. Her sheer size kept me locked in place, while the onlookers egged her on, laughing as they handed her more drinks to pour over me. I gripped my phone, about to call for help, when suddenly, a sharp voice cut through the commotion. Enough. Stop it. Willow. She appeared out of nowhere, grabbing the drunk woman's wrist with a firm grip. Behave yourself. This is a gala, not your private playground, and George is not your toy. Get off him. Now. The woman clearly hadn't expected Willow to intervene. After all, Willow was now an elite in S-City, a renowned jewelry designer. Even a drunk socialite from the Bai family wasn't foolish enough to openly clash with her. She let out an awkward laugh, trying to brush it off. Willow, I was doing this for you. He just doesn't know how to appreciate a good offer. Willow's tone was ice cold. My business with George is none of your concern. With that, she reached out and grabbed my arm. Go clean yourself up. Look at you, you're a mess. I met her gaze. Behind her, Makoto's face twisted with barely restrained fury. His jaw clenched so tightly I could almost hear his teeth grinding. His girlfriend had just publicly defended her ex-boyfriend. How could he possibly endure this humiliation? Makoto stepped forward, grabbing my wrist and pulling me away. I'll take him to change. Willow, you should go back to your guests. Willow hesitated. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but when her eyes met mine again, a hint of red rimmed them. I pulled my arm free with force, sweeping a cold gaze over the onlookers before striding toward the restroom. Makoto cursed under his breath, but as soon as he noticed the murmurs around him, he quickly shifted the conversation. I heard the CEO and young master of Sakura Enterprises are upstairs in the conference hall. We might get to see the wealthiest woman in S-City in person tonight. She's been wanting to buy Willow's designs for a while now. Looks like Willow and the CEO are going to be the stars of the night. The moment he said that, the crowd immediately buzzed with excitement, their attention shifting away from the earlier drama. Satisfied, Makoto turned and strode after me. In the restroom, I had just finished rinsing off the alcohol and was using the dryer to get rid of the lingering dampness on my clothes when a sharp knock echoed through the door. Bang, bang, bang. Makoto stood there, arms crossed, his face twisted with scorn. A loser like you, what gives you the right to show up here? He sneered. He stepped inside, voice dripping with venom. George, do you know how much I wish you would disappear? Every damn time Willow and I get intimate, she calls your name. My movements stilled. Makoto laughed darkly. You're making me wear a green hat. Huh? Do you know how much I hate you? And just now, Willow actually got worked up over you. Do you know the last time she lost her composure like that? I casually dusted off my sleeves and cut him off coldly. I don't care. Makoto, you're 30 years old. Stop acting like a child. With that, I stepped forward, intending to leave, but my mind lingered on his words, calling my name. That wasn't how things used to be. Before I could leave, Makoto suddenly slammed his fist into the sink with a loud bang. Then, as if on cue, he collapsed onto the floor, clutching his head. Willow, don't blame George, he just can't stand that I'm the one with you now, he shouted, his voice filled with fake pain. Before I could even react, Willow rushed in and slapped me. Smack. The force of her palm stung against my cheek. George, why won't you let go? I don't love you anymore. Why did you hit Makoto? Chapter 5. Willow's slap burned against my cheek. My hand clenched at my side before I slowly loosened it again. She didn't even spare me another glance. Her full attention was on Makoto as she carefully helped him up, checking his barely there injury as if it were some life-threatening wound. George, you've gone too far this time, she snapped, acting all high and mighty in front of me, only to throw punches at Makoto behind my back. You keep saying you don't want our kindness, but deep down, you're just full of resentment. You're disgusting, such a hypocrite. I had been about to explain. Makoto had staged this entire scene, publicly exposing our past in such a vile way, and I was disgusted by it. But the moment I opened my mouth, Willow cut me off with a furious shout. Shut up, you make me sick. George, you'll never have me. Just give up already. I watched the two of them walk away, and suddenly, I found myself laughing. I straightened my clothes and stepped back into the banquet hall. By now, the crowd had moved on to a new topic, the mysterious billionaire guest of the evening, S-City's richest woman. This female mogul wasn't just wealthy, she was also breathtakingly beautiful, known for her elegance. Despite being in her early 30s, she had already established herself as a dominant force in the business world. She also had a 4-year-old child, though her husband remained a complete enigma. Do you think we'll finally see her husband tonight? Someone speculated. He's been a mystery for so long, just how exceptional must he be to marry a woman like her? Another added. You don't know. Her husband is a nationally renowned professor, one of the top educators in the country. Universities fight over him, and parents are desperate to have their kids study under him. Yeah, I heard he's insanely dedicated to his work, practically a modern-day Confucius. If that's not impressive, I don't know what is. Man, I need to start a live stream. If I get a shot of him, I'll go viral. Then, someone suddenly changed the topic. Forget that for a second. Look, George is back. The attention in the room immediately shifted back to me. He actually had the nerve to hit Makoto and still hasn't left. Unbelievable. Bye. Still fuming from earlier, saw me and charged over like a firecracker that had just been lit. Without warning, she stomped down hard on my leg. You're just a pathetic bastard lusting after someone else's wife. She spat. This time, Willow didn't even bother intervening. She merely sat comfortably on a nearby sofa, delicately feeding Makoto grapes. Watching the scene unfold with a cold smirk, Makoto put on a show of being the bigger man. Don't be too hard on George. Feelings aren't something we can control. When Willow and I get married, George, you should come have a drink at our wedding. It's time for you to move on. The crowd, oblivious to what had actually happened in the restroom, immediately started praising Makoto for his generosity and grace. Makoto and Willow are the perfect couple, a match made in heaven. You're disgusting for still clinging to her. George, hurry up and apologize. Are you trying to ruin tonight's banquet with your pathetic drama? Another voice chimed in. Makoto is being nice about this, but as their friend, I won't let this slide. Stop standing there like a mute and say something. A flood of people surrounded me, their fingers nearly poking me in the face. Someone even threw a fruit peel at me, but I remained standing tall, unmoved by their words. Bye. desperate to regain some dignity after being ignored earlier, suddenly rolled up her sleeves and lunged at me. Before I could react, she slammed into me with all her weight, knocking me to the ground. Then, with alarming strength, she straddled my waist, pressing her full weight down on me as her thick fingers wrapped tightly around my throat. "You worthless piece of trash. You think you're too good for my money," she shrieked. "Fine. Stay on the ground. Apologize to Makoto and Willow right now." The room lit up with camera flashes. Several guests had their phones out, eager to capture my humiliation. Makoto made a show of looking concerned. "Don't hurt George. He's just blinded by love for Willow. It's not really his fault." Then, he turned to me with a pitying smile. "George, get up. You look like a stray dog right now. It's actually kind of sad." I tilted my head up, meeting Makoto's gaze, then shifted my eyes to Willow. Her expression was filled with nothing but disgust. "George should be on his knees apologizing to you," she sneered. "He's just garbage." At that moment, I realized there was no reason to keep giving Willow any dignity. I smirked and asked Makoto, "Didn't you just say that every time you and Willow are intimate, she calls my name?" The room went silent. I continued, "Tell me, Makoto, the last time she lost control over me, what exactly happened?" Then, I chuckled, my tone light but cutting. "Makoto, you sound insecure. Are you afraid that even while loving you, Willow still secretly has me in her heart?" Chapter 6. The weight of my words was too heavy. Silence instantly blanketed the room. Even the woman straddling me was so shocked that she blurted out, "How the hell did you manage that? Flirting with Makoto while still thinking about George?" All eyes turned to Willow. Seizing the moment, I forcefully shoved the woman off and stood up, dusting off my clothes. I had no interest in staying here any longer. This place was filled with nothing but a bunch of pathetic clowns, desperately putting on their little performances. Someone muttered, "Could Willow really be that kind of person?" Another voice questioned, "Wait a minute, why would Makoto even bring this up in front of George? Was he trying to brag? George must be lying." But then someone countered, "If he's lying, why are Makoto and Willow both frozen in place?" Just as I was about to walk away, Willow suddenly lunged forward and grabbed my arm. Her face was a mixture of shock and disbelief, her grip trembling as she demanded, "How could you say something like that? George, you're slandering me, smearing my reputation. You just want to ruin me. How could you be so cruel? You used to protect me." Her eyes were red as she clutched my shirt, shaking me violently. "Explain it to them. Why did you say those things? George, you just want to destroy me, don't you?" Makoto snapped out of his daze and quickly stepped in, pulling Willow away while putting on an expression of deep disappointment. "George," he said, voice heavy with false pain, "whatever issue we have as men, why drag Willow into it and hurt her? You said those things on purpose, didn't you? Just to make people doubt her. She was your first love. How could you slander her like this? Is your heart made of stone? You couldn't have her, so now you want to ruin her. That's too much, George." With just a few sentences, he had successfully twisted the situation, turning the room against me. The crowd murmured in agreement. "He's right. Willow is an internationally renowned jewelry designer now. She was just trying to help George, and he repays her by attacking her like this. Damn, I bet George isn't just after her money, he wants to destroy her reputation too. If everyone starts questioning Willow, he'll be the only one left who can take advantage of her vulnerability. What a schemer. Ugh, and to think he wanted to be a teacher. With this kind of character, what kind of students would he even raise? Makoto's really gracious for tolerating this. Good thing we didn't fall for George's tricks." Someone shouted, "George, get out. You're not welcome here." Another voice echoed, "Wait, isn't this a private event? How did George even sneak in? We should throw him out." The jeers and shouts surrounded me. I turned my cold gaze to Makoto and spoke slowly, each word deliberate. "There's a security camera in the hallway outside the restroom. Makoto, how about we go check the footage together?" Makoto sighed dramatically, shaking his head as if I was the unreasonable one. "Enough. George, if you have a problem, take it up with me, but don't bully my woman." The tension in the room escalated, and one particularly agitated guest lost control, shoving me. The force sent him stumbling back, straight into the champagne tower. The towering glasses wobbled dangerously before crashing down, and standing right beneath it was Willow. She had been quietly sniffling to herself, too caught up in her emotions to react in time. She didn't even realize the danger. Makoto, who had been standing nearby, immediately dodged to the side. Yet, he still had the audacity to call out, "Willow, watch out." In the split second before the glass came crashing down, I instinctively bolted forward and shoved her out of the way. A deafening crash filled the room as the champagne tower shattered. The sharp shards of glass rained down on me, and I felt the sting as my arm was sliced open. Blood gushed instantly, soaking through my sleeve. The entire banquet hall fell into stunned silence. Willow sat on the floor where she had landed, looking up at me in shock. A murmur spread through the crowd. Maybe George really does still have feelings for her. Someone scoffed. "Feelings? Please. This could just be another one of his acts." I said nothing. I simply pressed a hand to my bleeding arm, refusing to even glance in Willow's direction. I hadn't done this because I still loved her. It wasn't some reckless impulse, either. In my past life, Willow had once rushed through a crowd, disregarding her own safety to push me away from danger. She had ended up with a scar on her arm because of it. That was the one thing I had owed her. And now, I had finally repaid my debt. Chapter 7. Willow's emotions were in complete turmoil. If George hadn't acted just now, she would have ended up in the hospital. Memories from her past life flooded her mind. Back then, she had been the one injured while saving George, and he had cried on the spot, swearing that he would never let her suffer harm again. And he had kept his promise. Even when they faced that fatal car accident, he had held her tightly, shielding her with his own body, desperately trying to protect her. Yet, in the end, they had both died. Somehow, fate had given her a second chance. Willow had sworn never to live through poverty again, but at this moment, she was hit with a startling realization: George still loved her. Only love could drive a man to risk everything to protect someone like that. She couldn't help but wonder, if George had just been a little wealthier, would she ever have left him at all? I had no idea what was running through Willow's mind. I only wanted to get my wounds treated, but before I could take a step, Makoto's lackeys swarmed around me, their voices filled with hostility. "This is all your fault. You damn jinx. Scraped your arm a little and now you're playing the victim. Stop putting on an act and get the hell out of here." Someone shoved me hard. A few others, stronger than the rest, grabbed me roughly by the arms, dragging me toward the exit as if I were some stray dog. "Kick him out. Don't let this rat ruin the party. He's just trying to make people forget how he punched Makoto earlier." I forcefully wrenched free, my gaze sweeping coldly across the crowd before landing on Willow. She avoided my eyes. I knew then, whatever past we had shared, it was now completely erased. I turned to leave, but before I could take a step, a heavy hand clamped down on my shoulder. "You hit Makoto and haven't even apologized. Where do you think you're going?" Another voice sneered. "Teach him a lesson." The next moment, a fist came flying toward me. I was about to counter when someone in the crowd suddenly spoke up. "Hold on a second. No matter what, George just saved Willow. Shouldn't she at least say thank you?" The murmurs in the crowd shifted. All eyes turned to Willow. She sniffled softly but quickly composed herself. Then, with an icy glare, she said, "I never asked him to save me. He just likes meddling in other people's business. If he hadn't hit Makoto first, none of this would have happened. He got hurt. That's his own damn fault." The moment those words left her lips, people nodded in agreement. "Yeah, she's right. George totally deserved this." The man who had hit me before grabbed my hand again, mockingly smacking my own palm against my face as he sneered. "What? Cat got your tongue? You gonna cry?" Behind him, a group of sycophants had fully surrounded me, looking eager to put me in my place. Just then, someone suddenly gasped, "Wait, isn't that S-City's Little Prince?" The entire hall fell silent for a split second. Then, whispers spread like wildfire. All eyes turned toward the staircase. Descending gracefully, flanked by a team of security guards, was a small boy. The atmosphere in the room instantly shifted. "That's got to be the billionaire's son," someone murmured in awe. The man who had just been taunting me suddenly turned smug. "If I were you," he said, patting my shoulder mockingly, "I'd get down on my knees and welcome him properly. This is the most important guest of the night. You want Willow's love? First, be a good little dog for the young master. Get some money out of him, and then go beg for her affection." I wiped the blood from my arm, my expression dark as I shot the man a warning look. Then, I turned my gaze toward the young boy approaching. The entire room erupted in excitement. People scrambled to take out their phones, eager to snap photos and videos of the so-called Little Prince. Makoto, ever the opportunist, dragged Willow forward, putting on his best ingratiating smile. Stepping up to the boy, he introduced himself with exaggerated enthusiasm. "Ah, young master, so handsome, clearly takes after his parents." Reaching out, he made the mistake of trying to ruffle the boy's hair. A security guard immediately stepped in, shoving Makoto's hand away, and in that moment, the young boy, who had been scanning the crowd with a cool and detached expression, suddenly lit up. His face brightened into an excited, joyful smile. Then, without hesitation, he broke into a run. Like a little bird finally set free, he sprinted toward a single person, straight toward me. I barely had time to react before a small, warm body crashed into me, tiny arms wrapping around my waist. Then, in the softest, sweetest voice, the boy exclaimed, "Daddy, you're finally back." Chapter 8. The little boy, who had maintained an air of calm sophistication, now pouted with a hint of grievance, his small hand tightly gripping mine. His big, innocent eyes shone with longing. "Daddy, you weren't home yesterday. I missed you so much," he whined. The sternness in my face softened instantly. Pulling my son into my arms, I held him tightly, my voice unconsciously becoming gentle as I reassured him. "Daddy was working. Didn't I tell you yesterday that I might come back a day late? But I still missed you," he grumbled, his voice laced with a childish sob. "I don't want to be away from you. Not even for a day." His little voice was thick with emotion, a clear attempt to win my sympathy. I chuckled, ruffling his soft hair. "All right, tomorrow is Daddy's day off. How about I take you out for a full day of fun? The moment he heard that, his eyes lit up like stars. He hugged my leg tightly and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Daddy is the best. David loves Daddy the most." The entire banquet hall was stunned into silence, especially those who had just insulted and manhandled me. Now they were staring at me as if their brains couldn't process what they were seeing. The little prince of S City, dressed in an exquisitely tailored suit, groomed to perfection, his noble air undeniable, was calling me daddy. Willow's face turned deathly pale. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Impossible. George can't have a child." She recalled the past. They had been together for years in their last life, yet she had never once gotten pregnant. Sure, she had taken birth control occasionally, but not every single time. In her mind, George was infertile. He simply didn't have the ability to father a child. So how could he possibly have such a perfect little boy? This had to be a trick. Makoto was the first to break the silence. His fake smile plastered across his face as he bent down to David's level. "Hey, little guy, are you sure you've got the right person?" he asked with forced patience. "Look around. There are so many people here. Are you really sure your daddy is George?" His words immediately set off a wave of suspicion among the guests. "Yeah, kids get confused all the time. Thank God. For a second, I thought George was actually someone important. If he was rich, wouldn't the bodyguards have greeted him with respect? Look at them, they haven't even acknowledged him. George must be faking it. The kid probably just mistook him for someone else, and now he's shamelessly going along with it." One of my bodyguards clenched his fists, ready to act, but I calmly raised a hand to stop him. I didn't want my son's ears to be tainted by these people's filth. But David, ever the curious and mischievous child, peeked out from my shoulder, blinking his big eyes as he examined the adults arguing around him. Makoto, still trying to salvage the situation, reached out again, his voice dripping with false concern. "Come on, little prince, step away from him. He's all dirty. You don't want to catch any germs, do you?" His hand was getting too close to my son. My face darkened instantly. I grabbed his wrist and shoved it away, my voice ice cold. "Stay away from my son. The only thing dirty here is your mind. Unlike you, my son doesn't have trouble recognizing his own father. This farce ends now. Be a man. Makoto, at least pretend to have some dignity." With that, I hoisted David into my arms, ready to leave this ridiculous spectacle behind. David giggled, wrapping his arms around my neck. He turned back to Makoto and, with an impish grin, taunted, "Uncle." My eyes worked just fine. "Of course, I know who my daddy is. But, do you know who your daddy is? Uncle, you're so dumb. Being dumb is contagious. Daddy, let's go." A ripple of laughter spread through the crowd. Someone muttered, "Damn, this kid is sharp. He's only 4, but he's so articulate. If he really is George's son, it would make sense." George was the top scorer in his entrance exams back in school, but another voice quickly objected. "Nah, this is all just a setup. None of us have ever seen the little prince before. How do we know he's the real deal? George is just a schemer. People like him always put on a show." Amidst the heated discussion, Willow suddenly seemed to wake from her daze. Like someone who had just realized they had left something priceless behind, she quickly stepped forward and blocked my path. "George," she said, her voice trembling with urgency. "I know you still love me, but you don't have to go this far. You don't need to find a random child just to prove a point." She reached out as if to grab me. "Just give the boy back to his real parents. Let's talk. Aside from love, I can give you anything you want." Just as she finished speaking, a clear, melodious female voice rang out from the upper floor. "Excuse me, miss," the woman called out, her tone cool and composed. "But may I ask, what exactly do you think you're doing with my husband and my son?" Chapter 9. An elegant woman, breathtakingly beautiful and with a figure that seemed sculpted to perfection, gracefully descended the grand staircase. Her presence alone commanded attention, exuding an aura of absolute authority. Beside her, the chief organizer of the banquet followed closely, his demeanor filled with reverence. The woman walked directly toward me, her gaze filled with warmth. "You came back without telling me," she said gently. "I would have come to pick you up." The banquet organizer quickly stepped forward, addressing the stunned crowd. "This is Miss Sue Anna, CEO of Sakura Group. She is also the wife of the esteemed Professor Wang, a highly respected figure in the field of education. This charity event was made possible thanks to Miss Sue's personal contribution of 50% of the funding. If any of our distinguished guests require assistance, please let me know. I will do my best to accommodate on Miss Sue's behalf." Silence. The room fell into a stunned hush. Some guests turned red with excitement, thrilled by the unexpected spectacle unfolding before them. Others were seething with jealousy, their eyes burning with resentment. And then there were those who had mocked and mistreated me earlier. They now stood frozen, their faces drained of all color, legs trembling as the reality of the situation hit them. A former classmate of mine stammered, Your wife, is Anna, the richest woman in S City. George, is this real?" Someone else gasped, "It has to be real." The event organizer himself just addressed him as Professor Wang, and the kid called him Dad. So the mysterious husband Anna never revealed all these years was actually George. That world-renowned top-tier educator is him. The Su family is true old money elite, and George, turns out he's the most successful one among all of us. Why didn't he say anything earlier? Of course, had they known my true identity from the start, they would never have dared to insult me, let alone try to throw me out. As the murmurs spread like wildfire, I merely smiled faintly, offering no explanations. My eyes met Anna's as she reached out, gently wrapping her arms around me. You just came back from the rural areas, didn't you? She asked softly. You should have called. David kept asking to go pick you up. You must be exhausted, I reassured her, my voice calm. I didn't want you two to wait in the cold. Let's finish here quickly and head home. That was it. No one dared to question it anymore. Anyone with eyes could see, this was a real, loving family. Makoto instinctively took a step forward, desperate to salvage the situation, but Anna didn't even spare him a glance. Instead, her sharp eyes landed directly on Willow. A subtle smirk tugged at her lips as she spoke. If I'm not mistaken, you must be my husband's ex, she said casually. Since you're an ex, why are you still clinging to my husband in public? She let out a soft chuckle, her tone light but dripping with mockery. But I suppose I should thank you. After all, if not for you not marrying him, I wouldn't have had the fortune of meeting such a wonderful man. The entire banquet hall collectively inhaled. Anna's words were a slap Willow never saw coming. Willow didn't react at first, as if her mind had shut down. But then, her gaze snapped to me, her expression laced with disbelief and something close to devastation. George, she demanded, her voice shaking. Is this your way of punishing me? Is this how you're getting back at me for leaving you? How much did you pay these people to act this out? She was desperate, delusional. I let out a breath and finally shattered whatever illusion she was clinging to. Holding Anna's hand tightly, I spoke, firm and unwavering, making sure everyone, especially Willow, heard me loud and clear. This is my wife, the woman I love, the mother of my child. I won't allow anyone to insult her. I turned my gaze directly at Willow. Miss Lu, mind your words. Willow's face shifted from disbelief to devastation to complete emptiness. Had this been our past life, I would have instantly felt guilty, rushing to soothe her, afraid of causing her any distress. But in this life, she was nothing but a ghost from a past that no longer mattered. I cradled my son in one arm and held my wife's hand in the other, moving to leave. But Willow wasn't done. She ran after me, her voice breaking as she called out in desperation. George, I don't believe you, she cried. Because you love me. How could you possibly love another woman? I exhaled, setting David down for a moment. Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out a sleek black card. Without hesitation, I extended it toward her, repeating the words she once said to me, word for word. I know we had something good once, I said evenly, but the past is over. How can you be jealous and resentful just because I found my own happiness? This is my compensation to you. Take it. Buy yourself something nice. Take care of yourself. Willow's entire body stiffened. For some reason, those words hurt her more than anything else. She wanted to argue, but before she could, the banquet staff stepped forward, announcing that the charity auction was officially beginning. Once the auction ended, the evening gala would commence. Makoto walked over to Willow, but he didn't comfort her. Instead, he coldly whispered into her ear, Willow, don't embarrass yourself any further. I'm the one you're with now. Stop humiliating me in front of everyone. Chapter 10. With only a few minutes left before the auction began, I found myself the center of attention. The very people who had ignored or mocked me earlier were now practically tripping over themselves to ingratiate themselves with me. At the same time, they didn't forget to cast disdainful glances at Willow and Makoto. One person sneered, who would have thought George would end up marrying the richest woman in S-City? And Willow tried to brush him off with a bank card. Talk about shooting herself in the foot. She looks pathetic now. Another chimed in. Being a famous designer is useless. Compared to Anna, Willow is nothing. She can't even come close to matching her wealth, status, or looks. Someone else laughed. Makoto had the nerve to offer George a $4,000 a month job. The guy is a nationally renowned top-tier educator. Universities are practically fighting over him. What a joke. George, man, why didn't you tell us about your wedding? We could have come to celebrate and share the good fortune. I glanced at these people, who had once treated me with indifference and were now clinging to me as if we were lifelong friends. Amused, I simply smiled and ignored them, focusing only on my wife and son. Willow and Makoto entered the auction hall just in time to hear the whispers and snide comments aimed at them. Instinctively, Willow's gaze landed on me. I sat at the most prestigious seat in the hall, casually peeling nuts for Anna and David, my expression full of warmth. The sight of our happy family moment made Willow's chest tighten with unbearable frustration. Makoto, sensing her distress, leaned in and muttered, "Don't take George seriously. He's just a gold-digging man who married rich. Just watch. Once the auction starts, he won't be able to afford a single thing." Anna might be playing along to save face, but there's no way she truly values him. You'll see. Willow found comfort in his words. To her, the world of the rich was impenetrable. George thought he could use Anna to get back at her, but in reality, life as a wealthy in-law wouldn't be easy. If Anna truly cared for him, Why was he still dressed so plainly? Surely, he wasn't living the good life he pretended to be. With these thoughts solidifying in her mind, she sat down beside Makoto, ready to watch the show unfold. The auction officially began. One by one, exquisite items were brought onto the stage. I remained silent, showing no interest in bidding. Seeing this, Willow and Makoto became more confident. Sure, George had a prestigious title, but he probably wasn't actually rich. Meanwhile, Makoto and Willow eagerly placed their bids, particularly Willow, who had returned to China hoping to boost her reputation. She spared no expense, throwing out tens of millions in bids without hesitation. Her lavish spending drew admiration from the crowd, and whispers began to shift in her favor. Willow is doing just fine on her own. If she had stayed with George, she never would have reached this level of success. George's wife might be rich, but it's her money, not his. He's still just a keptman. Willow is an independent woman, while George is still just a teacher. Honestly, he is beneath her. Then, the final auction piece was unveiled. A breathtaking necklace, simple yet elegant, shaped like a crescent moon, made entirely of the world's rarest pink diamonds. Under the dazzling lights, it radiated an ethereal glow. The moment I laid eyes on it, something flickered in my expression. For the first time that night, I placed a bid. 1 million. Makoto immediately raised his paddle, and just like that, the bidding war began. The price climbed. 1 million. 2 million, soaring rapidly to 30 million. When I raised my bid to 40 million, Anna gently wrapped her arms around mine. She whispered, "Honey, I know you want to get this for me because it's the only thing you ever designed, but it's not worth spending that much. Don't waste your energy trying to outbid Makoto." I shook my head, smiling. I wasn't bidding out of spite. This was a charity auction. Every dollar raised would go toward building schools and funding education in impoverished regions. I simply wanted to contribute as much as I could. Makoto, sensing a challenge, called out, 40,500,000. Without hesitation, I countered, 50 million. The hall fell silent. This was now the most expensive item of the evening. Willow hesitated. She only had 50 million in liquid assets left. Makoto, on the other hand, stood up, puffing out his chest. 55 million, he announced proudly. Anna leaned in and whispered to me, "Darling, I already donated 1 billion under our names. A portion of that was from the money you gave me before." I smiled and slowly lowered my paddle. Then, in the calmest voice, I said, "Makoto, it's yours." Makoto's smirk faltered. His face twisted, and his expression turned tense. You're backing out," he stammered, realization dawning upon him. I was planning to stop after one more bid. "George, you tricked me." Anna turned to him with an amused smirk. "Mr. Ito, you seem awfully agitated," she mused. "Surely, you're not panicking because you can't afford to pay." Chapter 11. All eyes turned toward Makoto. He was the one who had placed the final bid. And now, with the price locked in, was he planning to back out? It was clear from his earlier words that he had tried to set a trap for me, expecting me to keep raising the price so he could humiliate me. Instead, he had outplayed himself. The guests watched in amusement, eager to see how he would handle this situation. The auctioneer, without hesitation, struck the gavel. The sale was final. He smiled at Makoto and presented the necklace. "Congratulations, Mr. Ito, for your generous contribution to charity," he announced. "How would you like to make the payment, card or check?" Makoto wasn't necessarily struggling with the money, he simply couldn't stomach the fact that I had turned the tables on him. I, on the other hand, remained perfectly at ease. I had genuinely intended to buy the necklace for Anna. It was my money, and I had the right to bid however I pleased. Makoto had been the one who insisted on outbidding me, who had forced him. Beside me, Anna chuckled lightly. "This necklace was designed by someone truly remarkable," she said, smiling sweetly. "Mr. Ito has excellent taste." It sounded like a compliment, but only I understood the deeper meaning behind her words. Anna wasn't praising Makoto, she was praising me, because this necklace was my own creation. I had designed it for Anna when I fell in love with her, a symbol of how she had brought light back into my life. Anna had always been my moon. Now, however, the necklace was in Makoto's hands. Not that it mattered, I had already decided I would design a new one, something even more meaningful. This time, it would represent our family. "Daddy, I'm hungry, when can we eat?" David tugged on my hand, looking up with his big, expectant eyes. Smiling, I lifted him into my arms. "Let's go eat," I said, taking Anna's hand as well. We turned to leave. Behind us, Willow instinctively took a step forward, only to be stopped. Before she could follow, she and Makoto were led to the payment counter. She stared at the auction invoice, her mood sinking further. As an internationally renowned jewelry designer, her own work had only sold for 30 million. Yet now, she was parting with 55 million for someone else's creation. Still, despite the price, the guests were eager to flatter her and Makoto. As two of the biggest spenders of the night, they were showered with praise. "Whoever designed that necklace must be a true master. It might be worth even more in the future." This auction only features exclusive, High-value items. Mr. Ito and Miss Lu clearly have an eye for luxury. That necklace could have come from a famous collector or a retired jewelry legend. One guest turned to Willow. Miss Lu, as a designer yourself, what do you think? Does the craftsmanship seem extraordinary? Willow examined the necklace closely. With the amount they had spent, she wanted to believe it was worth the price. Yes, she admitted. There are many talented designers in the country who prefer to remain low profile. Yet their skill is unparalleled. Even though it's a simple crescent moon, the chain and the delicate details show great care in design. I'd guess it was created by a retired master. The guests continued to praise both Willow's expertise and the mystery designer. Then someone suggested, Mr. Ito, you should ask the auction house for the designer's identity. If Miss Lu could meet them, it could be a huge boost for her career. Makoto, eager to change the topic, nodded politely. Perhaps. But first, let's eat. The Ito family provided the food for tonight's banquet. Our chefs were specially flown in from overseas. He was determined to remind everyone that he was still a powerful figure in his own right. Yes, the Su family was the wealthiest, but the Ito family wasn't insignificant either. With that, he led Willow toward the dining hall. By the time Willow found a seat, she noticed something unusual. The head chef had personally prepared a separate meal for George and his family. Her expression stiffened. This had to be Anna's doing. The richer someone was, the more they demanded special treatment. Willow tried to ignore it. After all, she and George had long since separated. But then, she remembered something. In their past life, George had treated her like a princess. Not long ago, he had even injured himself to protect her. She refused to believe he no longer loved her. This was all an act to make her jealous. With that thought, Willow stood and marched over, raising her voice. Miss Su, she said loudly, ensuring everyone in the room could hear. This is a public banquet. Why is your food different from ours? Are you so used to forming exclusive little groups that you can't even share a meal with the rest of us? A hush fell over the room. Many guests had been waiting for a chance to toast Anna, hoping to establish connections. But now, Willow was outright challenging the richest woman in S City. Was she out of her mind? Everyone expected Anna to be furious, but instead, she remained composed, her lips curving into an amused smile. Then, in a voice clear enough for the entire hall to hear, she calmly asked, Miss Lu, why are you so concerned about what we do? Could it be that even now, you're still in love with my husband? Right then, Makoto arrived. He had overheard everything. His face immediately turned an alarming shade of green. Chapter 12. Makoto strode over to Willow and wrapped an arm around her waist. At first, he had been proud to flaunt his successful, well-known girlfriend. But now, standing in front of Anna, his confidence had noticeably shrunk. Forcing a smile, he said, Miss Su, you must be joking. My girlfriend would never love your husband. He tugged on Willow's hand, signaling her to speak up and clear the air, but she remained silent, her expression filled with resentment. I suddenly found the whole thing tedious. No matter how luxurious the banquet was, I had no desire to stay any longer. Rising from my seat, I placed Anna and David behind me protectively. David has a seafood allergy, I explained calmly. That's why we're eating separately. The food was specially prepared by my wife's personal chef. Lu, why would you have an issue with that? Willow's frustration flared. Of course, I have an issue with it, she snapped. Makoto flew in these chefs from overseas. Their services cost tens of thousands for a single night. The head chef, who had been stirring a dish at the buffet, quickly waved his hands in protest. In broken Chinese, he said, no charge. This is a charity banquet. I am happy to help. Also, I am Su Madam's chef. I raised little David since he was a baby. Cooking for him, no problem. Silence. Makoto clenched his jaw, speechless. Willow's expression twisted with discomfort. Meanwhile, I turned to Anna. Let's go. A few guests, eager to curry favor, hurried after us. Miss Su, Professor Wang, how about we have a private drink together, somewhere quieter, just to talk? Anna didn't even hesitate. I won't attend any event where Makoto and Willow are present, she said plainly. My husband may be gracious enough to tolerate them, but I refuse to associate with anyone who repeatedly disrespects him. Her words sent an unspoken warning through the room. Su Group, S City's most powerful empire, would never work with any business connected to the Ito family or Willow. Makoto's face turned dark. He turned sharply to Willow, voice low and biting. Look what you've done, he hissed. You couldn't even handle your ex-boyfriend. I still need to find out who designed the necklace. Go and get him back. Willow hesitated. She hated the idea of chasing after George. She had her own pride. But she had one burning question she needed an answer to. I had just placed David in his car seat when a familiar voice called out, George, I need to talk to you. I turned to see Willow hurrying toward me, breathless. Anna, still in her evening gown, might catch a cold if she stayed out too long. Get in the car, I said gently. Anna smiled, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I trust you, she murmured. She knew I would handle this well. I watched as she settled into the car, feeling nothing but warmth for the woman who stood by my side without hesitation. Willow saw it, too. and it nearly broke her. She remembered the past, when George had once pampered her like a queen, never letting her lift a finger. Now, all of that devotion belonged to someone else. Her voice wavered. "How did you end up with Anna?" she asked. "You too, you're from completely different worlds." I met her gaze, my expression unreadable. "That's between me and Anna. I don't owe you an explanation." Her eyes filled with unshed tears. "I just want one answer," she whispered. "Give me that, and I'll never bother you again." I considered it a clean break. I was about to reply when my phone rang. The auction organizer's voice came through the line. "Professor Wang, Mr. Ito, who won the necklace, wants to meet you personally. He considers you an incredible designer and wishes to thank you for creating such a masterpiece." I paused before responding. "Put him on the line." There was a moment of shuffling before Makoto's excited voice came through. "Master, it's an honor. Your work is extraordinary." I cut him off. "No need to thank me," I said flatly. "You paid for it. I should be thanking you for your generous contribution to charity." Silence. I could hear Makoto's breath hitch. Then, a sharp gasp from beside me. Willow's eyes widened. "That necklace," she whispered. "You designed it." Her voice shook as she processed the revelation. George had never been artistically gifted, so why had he created this piece? Had he done it for Anna? No. Willow's mind rejected the thought. Tears welled in her eyes as she clutched my sleeve. "You designed it for me, didn't you?" she choked out. "George, this was your way of trying to hold on to me. You don't really love Anna. Your marriage is fake. You're just putting on a show to make me jealous, aren't you?" Her voice trembled as she stepped closer. "Fine, George," she whispered. "If you just admit that you still love me, I'll give you another chance." Chapter 13. I couldn't help but laugh at Willow's delusion. Keeping my distance, I met her gaze and spoke with absolute clarity. "I love Anna. She is the moon in my life." Willow opened her mouth, wanting to argue, but I cut her off. "Didn't you say that if I told you how Anna and I met and fell in love, you'd stop bothering me?" "Willow, I hope you keep your word." The story wasn't complicated. Anna had a younger brother who struggled with severe learning disabilities and psychological issues. Most schools and teachers found him too difficult to handle. In the end, Anna sent him to the school where I was teaching. By coincidence, I became his teacher. I adapted my teaching methods to his needs, treating him with patience and care, guiding him step by step onto the right path. Through this, Anna and I crossed paths. She deeply admired my dedication and passion for education, as well as my commitment to research in my field. And I admired Anna's intelligence, how she was sharp in business yet warm and caring with her family. She loved my sense of responsibility, and I respected her decisiveness and depth. Through endless conversations, mutual admiration turned into companionship, and companionship grew into love. On the day we officially became a couple, I had been hesitant. I feared another failed marriage, so I asked Anna a few direct questions. I asked, "Do you want children?" She smiled and replied, "Do you want the polite answer or the real answer?" I could say, "That's something we should decide together." But the truth? I love children. I've always wanted one of my own. My parents passed away early, leaving only my brother and me. I've always longed for a warm, happy family. So yes, I want a child. Then I asked, "Would you ever stop me from continuing my research and education?" Anna shook her head sincerely. "No, a person's purpose isn't limited to family. They also have value in society. In pursuing their dreams, I would support you in everything you want to do." Finally, I asked, "Will you ever regret choosing me?" She laughed and said, "Never. I trust my judgment. The man I love will never disappoint me." From that day on, I let go of the past and started a new life with Anna. Our values aligned, our souls resonated, and naturally, love led us to marriage. Neither Anna nor I enjoyed ostentation, so we had a simple wedding, just a legal ceremony and a gathering with close family and friends. When I finished speaking, Willow's tears had already started falling. She was forced to accept reality, but the bitterness in her heart remained. She looked at me, voice shaking. "That little boy is really your son?" I nodded. Willow let out a choked sob. "You told me before that you wanted our child," she cried. "How could you turn around and have a baby with someone else?" Then she stared at me, her expression desperate, as if unveiling a terrible secret. "I've always known that both of us were reborn," she confessed. "Otherwise, you wouldn't have suddenly cut contact with me. George, why did you betray your promise?" I felt a mix of pity and disappointment. She still didn't understand. "You were the one who kept taking birth control, the one who refused to have a child with me," I reminded her. "Don't push your regrets onto me." Willow, pausing, I continued, my voice calm yet firm. "You were the one who said you regretted marrying me. You were the one who said you didn't want a child with me. You were the one who dragged me to file for divorce. We crashed on the way to the courthouse, and when we both woke up at the graduation ball, you left without hesitation. You already made your choice, so why cling to me now?" Willow's face twisted in anger. "You never supported me," she shouted. "You secretly emailed art studios, telling them not to accept my designs. George, you ruined me, and yet, I've always loved you." I frowned. What was she talking about? If I hadn't supported her, I wouldn't have abandoned my own dreams to work myself to the bone for her success. What on earth had happened in our past life to make her believe such an absurd lie? Chapter 14. I had no desire to dwell on the past, but I wanted even less to keep entangling myself with Willow. So I told her the truth. I never sent any emails to block your opportunities, I said firmly. On the contrary, I went to multiple magazine publishers, begging them to feature your work. I resigned from my job to support your dreams. I worked odd jobs, struggling to make enough money, more than anyone else. I wanted you to succeed. After everything I gave up for you, why would I ever try to sabotage you? Willow, did you truly see none of my sacrifices? Willow's face turned pale, as if the world had just crumbled around her. She covered her mouth, suppressing the sobs threatening to escape. She couldn't accept it. She didn't want to accept it. Yet another thought gnawed at her mind, one that had bothered her for years. She took a shaky breath and whispered, "Back then, I only asked you to buy me a design tool, but you refused. You told me I was wasting money. If you really supported me, why wouldn't you buy it?" So this was it. This was the moment that had defined her resentment. The reason why she abandoned me so decisively in this second life. I scoffed lightly, shaking my head. "Do you really not remember, Willow?" I asked. "Did you forget that at that time, we had no money left? Your mother had fallen ill, and we emptied every last bit of our savings to pay for her hospital treatment. You were so absorbed in your dream that you never cared about the household expenses. Do you even know that when times were at their worst, I sold my own blood just so I could buy you better food and keep you healthy? I didn't refuse you because I didn't support you. I simply asked you to wait just 2 more weeks until my paycheck and bonus came in. Then I would have bought it for you. But you, what did you do?" I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. "Willow, I have no regrets about what I gave you. But don't you dare twist the truth. The email, that was never me." Willow trembled violently, her entire body shaking from the weight of my words, because deep down, she knew I wasn't lying. We had spent 10 years together in our last life. She knew what kind of man I was. I wasn't someone who deceived, and that made her anguish even worse. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but she remained frozen in place, unable to speak. She had spent years believing that I had ruined her future. She thought I had tried to hold her back, but now, she realized that the person who had loved her most was also the one she had wronged the most. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Makoto told me. He said it was you who sent those emails. He told me that you didn't want to see me succeed, that you were afraid I would leave you once I became successful." Her expression was one of complete devastation. Her entire life, her hatred, her decisions, had been built on one lie. One careless whisper from Makoto had poisoned her thoughts against me, and she believed him. She chose to believe him. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel sadness, just exhaustion, disappointment, a deep, hollow indifference. "We spent 10 years together, Willow," I said, voice low and firm. "And with one sentence from someone else, you threw away everything I did for you. Don't you see how pathetic that is? You deserve whatever happens next. My wife and son are waiting for me. This is the last time we'll ever speak." I turned away, done with this conversation. But Willow wasn't finished. She didn't care about the tears streaming down her face. She ran after me, voice cracking with desperation. "Do you still love me, George?" I didn't stop walking. She gasped, then clutched her chest. "I was your first love," she pleaded. "Every man's first love is the one they never forget. If I came back to you, you would love me again, wouldn't you?" I didn't answer, because the answer was meaningless. Instead, without looking back, I shook my head. "My love for you died in our last life. In this life, I have someone I cherish more. I have a wife who truly understands me, and I have a son, a brilliant, kind-hearted boy." I had no regrets. As I walked toward my family, I glanced up at the sky. The deep black expanse was dotted with stars, and hanging there, luminous and steady, was a bright, radiant moon. Chapter 15. A month had passed since the charity banquet. That morning, I received an invitation to a college reunion. I had declined many times before. Anna and I were both busy, and neither of us enjoyed being the center of attention. But this time, when I placed the invitation aside, Anna climbed into my lap, wrapping her arms around my neck. "Let's go, darling," she murmured, her warm breath brushing against my ear. "The reunion is at my mountain resort. The scenery there is beautiful. We can camp and have a barbecue, and you can catch up with your old classmates." I raised an eyebrow. Anna usually wasn't interested in gatherings like this. She must have noticed my curiosity because she leaned in closer, her lips curling into a playful smile. "I just want to see if there are any more hidden love rivals," she whispered. "I need to make sure everyone knows that I am your wife." Hearing this, my heart ached slightly. For the past month, Willow had been messaging me nonstop from different phone numbers. I never read them. Anna always told me she didn't care. But how could someone who loves you not feel even a little bit jealous? I said nothing. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a second necklace, one I had designed myself. Ironically, the only reason I had developed this skill was because of how much I had sacrificed for Willow in my past life. But my first and second designs both belonged to Anna, because she was the only woman worthy of them. I cupped Anna's face gently. Darling, I said, meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm lucky to love you, and you never need to worry. My heart belongs to one person. Her eyes shimmered with happiness. Then I added, let's leave tonight. That way, we can get a good night's rest before the reunion. I rarely spoke sweet words, but when I did, I always meant them. Anna nodded eagerly, her joy evident. After leaving our son with the nanny, we got into the car, ready to go. David, who had been watching us, suddenly ran to the window, pouting. Daddy, Mommy, I want to come too, he whined. Anna reached out, pinching his chubby cheeks. If you come, she teased, then we won't be able to have a baby sister. David froze, his little hands balled into fists, eyes wide with excitement. Baby sister, he whispered. Anna nodded, smirking. So, do you want to come with us, or do you want to wait for your baby sister? David was silent for exactly 2 seconds before nodding furiously. Okay, I'll wait for my baby sister. Anna and I laughed, then drove off. When we arrived at the reunion the next day, we were surprised to find many people already there. They were all from our old department and dormitory. I held Anna's hand tightly, introducing her to everyone. Unlike the charity banquet, there was no flattery or fake smiles, just genuine congratulations. One of my closest college friends, David, clapped me on the shoulder. You got married and didn't even tell us. Now we all have to send you late wedding gifts. Another chimed in. Damn, George, your wife is gorgeous and has such a presence. And I heard she works in research, so cool. Anna was warm and composed, greeting everyone with ease. Most people saw S-City's wealthiest woman as an untouchable ice queen, but in reality, she was lively, kind, and down to earth. As we chatted, someone suddenly brought up Makoto. Did you hear? Makoto's father, Renito, got exposed for academic fraud. He used illegal means to obtain research funding, bribed experts, and even plagiarized other scientists' work, and Makoto was involved in all of it. There was a brief silence before someone pulled out a news video. Curious, I took the phone and watched. On the screen, Makoto and his father appeared disheveled and broken, their expressions filled with shame. Not only had all their research projects been revoked, but Renito's decades of academic prestige had been utterly destroyed. Now, both of them faced legal consequences. I had never particularly cared about Makoto, but people like him, people who corrupted academia for personal gain, disgusted me. They weren't just criminals, they were leeches on society, draining resources meant for genuine scientific advancement. I handed the phone back, my lip curling in distaste. Academic fraud, I scoffed. Using research for personal profit, they deserve whatever's coming to them. Anna, sensing the tension, leaned into me playfully. She pouted. Darling, don't get too worked up. I'm not like them, right? Her tone was lighthearted, and I knew she was trying to ease the mood. I smiled, wrapping an arm around her waist. The conversation shifted, and I took the opportunity to introduce Anna's research. Her company had always followed strict ethical guidelines. Every project aimed to contribute meaningfully to society. Unlike Makoto's father, who exploited the system, Anna upheld integrity in her work. That was something I deeply admired about her. Just as we were about to move on to dinner, a staff member approached me. Sir, someone is waiting for you outside. Frowning slightly, I excused myself and stepped outside. I wasn't surprised when I saw Willow, but I was shocked by her appearance. She looked frail. Her once radiant beauty had faded, her cheeks were hollow, her skin a dull shade of yellow. Her designer clothes hung loosely on her thin frame, as if she had lost a significant amount of weight. Her expensive jewelry, once a sign of confidence, now only highlighted how drained and exhausted she was. The moment she saw me, her dull eyes lit up with hope. George, she gasped. Did you see the news? I didn't respond. She took a step closer, her expression desperate. It was me, she said. I was the one who reported Makoto and his father. Chapter 16. Willow reported Makoto. In our past life, even when she was drunk, she had always called out Makoto's name. She once told me that he was her white moonlight, the one she could never forget. After we got married and she discovered that Makoto had feelings for her, her heart had completely drifted away. Even though she was still in our home, her thoughts were always with another man. During that time, she was constantly irritable, nitpicking at everything I did, comparing me to others, making me feel like the love and care I had given her had become something she resented. In this life, I had let her go, and she had successfully ended up with her so-called white moonlight. Yet now, she had turned against him. It made sense. Only someone close to Makoto would have access to such private information. He must have let something slip, thinking that since they were about to be engaged, Willow would keep his secrets. Instead, she had exposed him completely. Still, I took a step back, keeping my distance. And why are you telling me this? I asked coldly. Do you want me to thank you on behalf of the scientific community? Willow forced a bitter smile and rolled up her sleeve, revealing an old bruise on her arm. Because Makoto hit me, she whispered. Her voice was trembling, her entire body weak. I never thought he would actually hit me. But that night, after getting drunk, He started talking about you. He said that if I had chosen to stay with you, he would have made sure I thought you were sabotaging my career. She took a shaky breath. I thought you were lying before, but now I know, in our last life, it really was Makoto who fed me those lies. I confronted him about it, demanding to know why he tried to ruin us. And do you know what he did? She let out a choked sob. He laughed. He hit me. He called me pathetic. She wiped her tears with trembling fingers. He said I was the one who dumped you, that I was the one who climbed into his bed, that it had nothing to do with him. Her voice cracked completely. She had always thought she was special to Makoto, but in the end, he had treated her as nothing more than a passing amusement. Tears streamed down her face as she recalled the things people had told her after the charity banquet. Willow, an old classmate, had said, "You let go of the one person in this world who truly loved you." Another had told her the truth. Makoto never loved you. He pursued you because of a bet with his dorm mates. He used to brag that at the graduation ball, you were the one who seduced him. He said you were decent enough in bed, so he figured he'd keep you around as a toy. Later, when your career took off, that's when he started flaunting you. He never saw you as his love, he saw you as his trophy. That was when Willow had finally realized the truth. She had lost something irreplaceable. She had asked around about George's career. Even though he was just a teacher, his level of expertise was unparalleled. Schools fought over him, offering contracts worth tens of millions. But George had never cared about wealth. He had dedicated everything to education, and in their last life, he had sacrificed all of that for her. George's love had been loyal and pure. Now, standing in front of him, she was filled with grief. She wanted to say something, anything to change things, but then she saw Anna stepping outside. And just like that, Willow's desperation turned into reckless defiance. She couldn't give up. So, in a last-ditch effort, she suddenly lunged forward and wrapped her arms tightly around me. Then, in a voice loud enough for Anna to hear, she whispered, "George, I was your first woman. You can't abandon me." She leaned in, her lips nearly brushing my ear. "You used to love kissing that little mole on my waist. Do you remember?" Her voice was dripping with sultry, shameless intimacy. My stomach churned with disgust. The sheer audacity of it. She was bringing up things from our past life. A life that no longer existed. A love that had died. In this life, the only woman I had ever touched was Anna. Before I could push Willow away, Anna's voice rang out. Her tone was calm, so calm it was terrifying. She looked Willow straight in the eye and asked, "Willow, are you pregnant? Is that why you're clinging to my husband? Because you want him to take responsibility for someone else's child?" Chapter 17. Anna's words made Willow's face go pale. Her lips pressed tightly together, refusing to answer. Seizing the moment, I shoved her away, then brushed off the areas where she had touched me, as if she had dirted my suit. Turning to Anna, I wanted to explain, but before I could say anything, Willow lost control completely. "What are you so proud of?" she screamed. "Your husband once loved me enough to die for me. He's always had me in his heart. I was his first love, his white moonlight. The moment he gets tired of you, he'll come running back to me." She thought her words would shake Anna, would plant a seed of doubt, but in Anna's eyes, Willow was nothing more than a desperate child throwing a tantrum. She simply didn't care about the past. It was just that, the past. And more importantly, she had absolute trust in me. Smirking, Anna said, "I only believe my husband." "Stop dreaming. You had your chance, and you threw it away. Now that he's doing well, you think you can just come back and take what's his? The world doesn't work that way." Then, wrapping her arms tightly around mine, she tilted her head and playfully asked, "Tell me, dear husband, is what she's saying true?" I shook my head immediately, my eyes filled with certainty. Anna relaxed, her trust in me reaffirmed. But Willow wasn't done. She sneered, "You coward. You just don't dare admit it." She turned back to Anna. "Do you know? He used to be my husband. He cooked for me, did the laundry, even bathed me when I was sick. He stayed up all night watching over me. If I cried, he'd get on his knees to apologize. He gave up his entire career for me. He even sold his blood to make sure I could eat well." She had started off boasting, but as she spoke, her voice broke, and tears streamed down her face. Anna hadn't been angry before, but now, something tightened in her chest, not because of what Willow was saying, but because of the way she said it. Anna crossed her arms and stared at Willow. "If he was so good to you, then why did you betray him?" she asked coolly. "You trampled on the most genuine love a man could give. Now you regret it. Too late. The things you threw away, someone else treasures now." Willow shook her head frantically. "That was our past. I thought choosing Makoto would give me a better life. I made a mistake, but George and I truly loved each other in our last life. Why can't you give him back to me?" As she spoke, she suddenly collapsed to her knees. Anna's brows furrowed. She didn't believe in things like past lives, but seeing Willow this out of control, she sighed and stepped forward, stopping her. "Have some dignity," she said calmly. "The past is gone. There's no medicine for regret." I stepped forward, took Anna's hand, and looked Willow straight in the eye. "I stopped loving you a long time ago. I said firmly. You were the one who thought love could be better with another man. You chose to throw away my love. I don't regret losing you. The past is over. Let's not bring it up again. From now on, we are strangers. Then, without another word, I turned around and walked away with Anna. No matter how much Willow called after me, I didn't look back. She had made her choice, and I had made mine. Willow collapsed in the corner, sobbing, unable to enter the venue as the security guards stopped her. But as she sat there, alone, she made a desperate vow to herself. This time, no matter what, she wouldn't let me go. A week later, my name was all over the headlines. Willow had participated in an international jewelry competition and won first place with her new collection, named A Lifetime of Love. At the awards ceremony, she publicly confessed to me. I was in school when I found out. A group of parents approached me hesitantly. Professor Wang, is it true? Did you really leave your wife for that jewelry designer? The internet was in an uproar. Willow had romanticized our story, making it sound like an epic love story that had been tragically cut short. But I felt nothing except disgust. You only regret after losing something. What was the point now? I was furious. Just as I was about to call Willow to demand she stop this nonsense, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated, then answered. The voice on the other end was anxious. Hello, are you Miss Lou's boyfriend? I froze. I'm not. The caller ignored my response. This is S-City First People's Hospital. She was in a car accident, and she miscarried. Please come quickly. I frowned. You have the wrong person. I'm not. But then, the nurse's voice lowered. She was pregnant. She whispered. But during surgery, we found something else. We just got the biopsy results. Miss Lou has late-stage uterine cancer. Chapter 18. I didn't go to the hospital. Instead, I contacted Willow's parents and told them to be by her side. At the same time, I reached out to a former classmate who worked in digital media, ensuring that the trending news about her public confession was suppressed. That afternoon, my phone rang. Willow's voice was weak. George, can I see you one last time? My response was cold. I didn't want to get entangled with her again, nor did I want to give her false hope. I've already made everything clear, I said flatly. I let go of the past a long time ago. There's nothing left for you to hold on to. A sharp coughing fit cut me off. Her breathing was labored, as if she could barely speak. I knew I was sick, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But when I found out I was pregnant, I convinced myself that the baby was yours. I hated the wrong person. George, I always wanted to have a child with you. But Makoto lied to me. He destroyed our marriage. My voice remained indifferent. No, you destroyed our marriage with your doubt and your infidelity. A choked sob came from the other end of the line. But now the baby is gone, and I'm dying too. George, do you think when I die, I'll wake up in our past life again? Do you think I'll return to that day when we were about to get divorced? Maybe this time, I'll stop you. Maybe this time, I'll hold on to you, and we can stay together because I love you. You were the first person I ever loved. Even with my hardened heart, I couldn't deny the sting of her words. For a long moment, I said nothing. Then finally, I spoke. You should go somewhere with better medical treatment. Fight for your life. Don't give up. I've said these words to you before. She let out a broken laugh, her voice trembling. I'll wait for you, George. If you don't come, I won't close my eyes. I ended the call. At that moment, a student walked into my office to deliver some documents. For a brief second, my mind wandered back to my first day at university, the freshman ceremony. Willow had stood beside me as one of the student representatives, her high ponytail swaying as she smiled brilliantly, a ray of sunshine in human form. Now, that once radiant flower was withering away. I remembered how flustered she had been when I confessed to her, how I had clumsily played a song on my guitar, and how she had shyly nodded. I had been ecstatic. We had been so in love. And yet, love had turned to resentment. If not for the car accident that gave us a second chance, we would have died in our past life, carrying nothing but hatred for each other. I sighed. Perhaps it was time to put an end to it. On my way to the hospital, I stopped by a market to buy Anna and David's favorite ingredients, knowing they'd be waiting for me at home. When I arrived at Willow's hospital room, I found her looking even thinner than before. She had lost all the beauty she once prided herself on, her delicate features now frail and ghostly. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with tears, but they also brightened with hope. George, she whispered, her voice trembling. I knew you'd come. You could never truly abandon me. You still care about me. You're only angry because you love me too much. She clutched the blanket weakly. I was wrong before. Everything was my fault, but I just want you to know. I never regretted being with you. You always treated me like a princess. No one has ever loved me the way you did. Her gaze was feverish now. George, I know I made mistakes, but please, can't we start over? I promise I'll do better. I'll fight the illness. I won't let them remove my uterus because I want to have a child with you. I love you, George. I exhaled slowly, placing the bag of fruit I had brought onto the table. Then, looking directly into her desperate eyes, I crushed her last shred of hope. Willow, I said quietly, the moment you walked away from me after we were reborn, our relationship ended. Chapter 19. My stance remained firm. I have a family now, a wife and a child I love dearly. So from now on, don't say these things again. Willow shook her head in disbelief. No, we never officially broke up. How could all those years of love just disappear? I know you're angry at me, George, but don't be. I've admitted my mistakes. You used to hate seeing me cry. Why won't you forgive me now? I remained expressionless as I pulled my hand away from hers. You have late-stage cancer. Even if we were just ordinary friends, I would have still come to see you. If my presence made you think I still have feelings for you, then I apologize. But your parents will take care of you, and I won't be staying any longer. In our past life, I desperately tried to hold on to our marriage. That was the most foolish thing I ever did. I should have let you go sooner. Now, I no longer love you, and I hope you stop living in the past. Willow's face contorted with pain. She had clung to that last shred of hope, but now, she was finally forced to accept the truth. She had lost me, completely. The man who once adored her, who lived and breathed for her, was now someone else's. As I turned to leave, her voice suddenly rang out, loud, shrill, desperate. All women are the same. Do you really think Anna loves you? She's S-City's wealthiest woman. Why would she ever fall for an ordinary man like you? You two won't be happy. George, you're fooling yourself. I'm the only one who was ever truly meant for you. I quickened my steps, refusing to dignify her words with a response. I had wanted to leave her with a shred of dignity. But Willow, she hadn't changed at all. Just like in our past life, she couldn't stand when things didn't go her way. When she was doing well, she looked down on those who weren't. When she was doing poorly, she envied those who were happier. And worse, she wanted to drag them down with her. People like her would always be filled with regret, would always be unsatisfied. I had done my part. From now on, Willow's fate had nothing to do with me. And as for Anna, my love for her was unshakable. People always thought I had married up, that Anna had stooped to be with me. But Anna had never seen it that way. From the beginning, she had always told me, in this relationship, we are equals. Willow once mocked my decision to become a teacher, belittled my passion for education. But Anna had taken the time to truly understand me. She once wrapped her arms around me, pressing her lips against my ear, whispering in admiration, "Darling, you've changed the lives of so many children with your textbooks and teaching methods. No amount of money could ever compare to that. You're amazing. You're a hero." Because of Anna, I learned what real love was. Real love wasn't doubt. It wasn't sabotage. It was the guiding light in the darkness. It was the warm hand that held yours through the coldest nights. It was two people, fighting for their dreams together, walking side by side, lifting each other higher. Anna and I had come so far. Willow's desperate words would never make me question the bond we had. I thought this would finally be the end, that Willow would finally give up. But then, she entered another jewelry design competition. This time, the theme was future. Her entry, a pendant, two small figures, locked in an embrace, 18-year-old versions of me and Willow, from the time when we had once been madly in love. Chapter 20. During the years Willow spent studying abroad, she truly achieved great success. Every one of her jewelry designs caused a sensation. She was hailed as a genius designer, a rising star in the industry. But now, she used that fame to buy off reporters and media outlets. Television stations, live broadcasts, and online platforms were flooded with her version of our love story. She even named her latest engagement ring design George. Not just in S-City. Now, the entire world knew that we had once been in love. And in front of millions of viewers, live on air, Willow bowed her head and apologized, her voice trembling with humility. "George, I truly regret everything. Losing you has been the most painful experience of my life. I was blind. I didn't cherish you when I had you. Please, forgive me. We loved each other so much. My jewelry sells so well because it's inspired by my love for you. George, come back to me. I really can't live without you." Hearing those words now, I found them utterly ridiculous. I coldly watched the screen and immediately dialed Anna's number. She was still at work when she answered. Upon hearing what had happened, she huffed. "I'm not happy," she said playfully. "I think I need to punish you. You sure do attract a lot of troublesome women. People watching that broadcast must think I'm some pitiful, abandoned wife." I chuckled. "Whatever punishment my wife gives me, I'll accept it. But, Anna, I was afraid you'd misunderstand. I was afraid you'd think I still have feelings for Willow." I paused, then added softly, "Anna, you don't know how grateful I am to have met you. I love you so much, but Willow keeps harassing me, trying to ruin our marriage." Anna could hear the frustration and helplessness in my voice. She sighed, her tone gentle. "Darling, did you forget the vows we made on our wedding day?" She whispered, "I'll hold your hand, and we'll grow old together. In this life, I will never leave you. Forever and ever, we will be together." That was the difference between Anna and Willow. No matter what happened, Anna chose to face it with me. Willow, on the other hand, had abandoned me without hesitation, and only came crawling back when she saw me thriving. I turned off the live broadcast and vowed never to watch anything related to Willow again. That evening, I picked up Anna and David from work and school, ready to return home to our peaceful life. But as soon as I saw Anna, she told me something unexpected. Willow was stabbed by Makoto. They don't know if she'll survive. I frowned. It was only after talking to Anna that I learned the full story. Makoto had been released after only 2 months in jail. His father had taken the full blame for the academic fraud, so he avoided serious punishment. But he lost everything: his wealth, his reputation, his career. With nowhere else to turn, he went looking for Willow. Yet Willow refused to see him. She called him a loser and cursed him to die. That was the final straw. Enraged, Makoto snapped. He grabbed a knife and attacked her. As he stabbed her, he screamed that she was ungrateful, that he was the one who helped her get to where she was today, that she had abandoned him when he lost everything. Anna shuddered as she recalled the news. When they carried Willow out, her clothes were drenched in blood. She said Makoto was arrested on the spot. Then, she looked up at me, her gaze steady. Darling, everyone who ever hurt you, they're finally getting what they deserve. I thought for a moment, then asked, Anna, can I go see Makoto? He would undoubtedly be sentenced this time, but before that, I wanted to see him one last time. Anna didn't hesitate. Instead, she wrapped her arms around me and pressed a soft kiss to my lips. Go, she said. David and I will be waiting at home. Don't make us wait too long. At the detention center, Makoto sat motionless in his cell. His hands were still stained with dried blood. His head hung low. He refused to speak, refused to cooperate with the police. After I confirmed my identity, I was allowed to meet with him. In that room, I only said 2 things. The first, you always loved Willow, didn't you? I asked. All that bragging, all those things you said in public, it was just to satisfy your own vanity, just to get back at her for once losing control over me, wasn't it? What really happened that time? The second, it doesn't matter if you answer. I just came to tell you. Willow was pregnant with your child, but after the car accident, she lost the baby, and she's dying of late-stage uterine cancer. Makoto, who had remained silent all this time, suddenly burst into laughter, but the laughter soon turned to sobs. Chapter 21. Makoto's emotions spiraled out of control. He roared at me, his voice thick with hatred and despair. Yes, I've always loved her. Those lies about not caring, they were just that, lies. Do you want to know why I treated her the way I did? Because on our first night together, while she was gasping, while she was at her peak, she called out your name. She called you her husband. She said she loved you. I choked her, forcing her to look me in the eye and see who she was really with. She swore it was just sleep talk, that it meant nothing. She swore she loved me. But 4 years ago, when that earthquake hit your school in the mountains, Willow lost her mind. She screamed that she had to go to you. She said she couldn't live without you. She said she wouldn't let you die. She was willing to drag your corpse home if she had to. She was pregnant, George. She had a fever. She barely knew what she was saying. And later she had the audacity to pretend she never said those words. But I remember, she withered after you went missing. She barely ate. She barely slept. And then, she lost our child. I loved her. I helped her climb to the top of her career. And just when we were finally about to get engaged, you showed up again. Makoto let out a hollow laugh, tears streaking down his face. Tell me, George, why? Why is it that even after all this time, even after everything I've done, she still loves you? His body shook violently. His expression was wild, frenzied, utterly broken. Then, in a whisper, he added, do you know something funny? I had a dream once. In that dream, you and Willow were married. I was so jealous, so consumed by hatred, that I did everything I could to ruin you. I never dated anyone, just waiting for the day Willow and I would be together. And then, in that dream, she died. She was cremated. I carried her ashes, and I jumped into the sea. Makoto's laughter rang through the cold, gray walls of the detention center. It was laughter so twisted, so broken, that I knew this man was truly ruined. I didn't tell him the truth. I didn't tell him that he and Willow had, in fact, been reborn. Instead, I simply told him, Makoto, take care. Use your time in prison wisely. And I left. What I didn't expect was to see Willow the moment I stepped outside. She had just finished receiving treatment, her wounds barely patched up. Her skin was pale, almost paper white, her body frail, barely standing. But when she saw me, her eyes lit up like a dying flame being rekindled. She took a shaky step toward me, and then, she began unbuttoning her shirt. George, she whispered, her voice trembling. I belong to you. Every part of me is yours. Her hands moved to push the fabric off her shoulders. I felt nothing but disgust. At that moment, her parents arrived. They ran to her, pulling her into their arms, sobbing. Her mother turned to me, tears falling freely. George, we're so sorry. Willow has been through so much. She refused painkillers just to come see you. Then, almost pleading, she asked, George, please tell me the truth. Is there really no chance for you and Willow? You two loved each other so much. She always said, after graduation, she'd marry you. I looked at these two elders, people who had once treated me as family, people who, in my past life, had always been kind to me. So I answered them seriously, truthfully. Uncle, Auntie, I said, my voice calm. I'm already married. I have a wife and a son. But even if I weren't married, I would never be with Willow again. I have no feelings for her. I only hope that she chooses to live. She still has a future ahead of her. I didn't tell them the truth, that Willow had not only lost me, she had also lost Makoto's love. Two men, both of whom had once loved her deeply, and now, she deserved neither. Her parents nodded in understanding. Later, I heard that Willow was transferred to a larger hospital for treatment. Her uterus was removed, and she might survive. Then, one snowy night, my phone rang. It was Willow's mother. Her voice was quiet. "George." "Willow." She paused, and in a broken whisper, she said, "She's fading fast. Can you come see her?" For a long time, I said nothing. Finally, my voice hoarse, I murmured, "All right." Chapter 22. When I hung up the phone, I tried to recall the moments of love I once shared with Willow in my past life, but to my surprise, I couldn't remember much at all. Time had truly faded everything. Even love could disappear into the vast river of time. When I saw Willow again, she was almost unrecognizable. Her body had withered to mere skin and bones. Her cheekbones protruded sharply, her once beautiful face now hollow and sunken. She sat by the window, staring blankly outside. Snowflakes swirled in the wind, and she murmured absently, "It's snowing." It was only when I called her name that her dull eyes regained a flicker of light, but the moment was fleeting. She quickly looked away, a sorrowful expression crossing her face. "George," she whispered, "I must look so ugly now." "You would never love me like this." I said nothing. She seemed to gather some strength, her voice barely above a whisper. She spoke endlessly, as if afraid she wouldn't get another chance. "George, I'm sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "I was too insecure back then. I was so desperate to succeed, so obsessed with chasing my dream of being a jewelry designer. I never stopped to think about how much you sacrificed for me. Maybe this is karma. Maybe I deserve this." She took a shaky breath. Then, she asked, "George, do you think we'll get another chance to live again?" Her eyes filled with hope, her fingers clutching the thin blanket as if holding onto her last shred of faith. "If we do, I'll love you properly this time. I'll cherish you. You'll choose me, won't you?" Her voice was so small, so desperate, but I shattered her fantasy with the truth. I shook my head. "No, Willow, there won't be another chance. Heaven already gave you one, and everything that happened was your choice. A person who never knows how to be grateful will never find true happiness, even if they were reborn 1,000 times. Her fragile body trembled. She had no more tears left to cry. "No chance," she murmured. "I really know my mistakes now. Why can't you just say that it's okay?" My answer was firm. Because it's not okay. I never visited Willow again, because I had something far more precious to protect. My present, my family, my happiness. A few months later, spring arrived. I was given the opportunity to study abroad in the United States for 3 months. Though excited, the thought of being apart from Anna and David made my heart ache. But the moment I arrived at the airport, I was stunned, because there, standing in the crowd, was Anna, holding David in her arms. David clutched a bouquet of flowers, his little face beaming with joy. "Daddy, you're finally here." I hurried forward, scooping them both into a tight embrace. Anna giggled, playfully teasing me. "Surprised, aren't you, darling?" she said, her eyes sparkling. "How could I let you come here alone? No way. We're family, we're supposed to be together." She kissed my cheek. "So, are you happy?" I pulled her in closer, my heart overflowing. "Anna," I whispered, "I'm so happy. I love you." During those months in the U.S., we explored new places, took countless photos, and created unforgettable memories. It was the happiest time of my life, until, one day, during a short trip, I received news. Willow had passed away. Not long after, a report came from the detention center. Makoto had taken his own life. For a moment, I was lost in thought. Then, I turned, and saw 2 figures running toward me. One small, one big. "Daddy. Darling," I smiled, opened my arms wide, and welcomed them into a future that was truly mine.